The Roman Seedling Masterclass: How to Dramatically Improve Transplant Success. Most transplant shock happens within the first 48 hours after planting, and the real reason surprises most gardeners. A lot of gardeners assume transplant shock is caused mainly by sunlight or temperature, and while those factors certainly matter, one of the biggest hidden problems actually happens underground, around the roots themselves. When a moist root ball is placed into surrounding garden soil that's drier or poorly connected, moisture can quickly move away from the roots through capillary action. At the same time, tiny air gaps often form around the transplant. Those gaps interrupt the thin, continuous film of moisture that delicate root hairs depend on to absorb water and nutrients efficiently. The result is something almost every gardener has seen before: seedlings wilt, growth stalls, leaves yellow or purple, and plants spend the next 1 to 3 weeks simply trying to recover instead of actively growing. Now here's the interesting part. Gardeners have been dealing with this problem for thousands of years. Long before modern fertilizers, greenhouse trays, or synthetic rooting hormones existed, ancient Roman growers developed practical transplanting methods designed to improve root-to-soil contact and help plants establish more quickly after planting. And surprisingly, some of those ancient techniques align very closely with what modern soil science now understands about root biology and transplant stress. Today, I want to show you a modernized version of one of those techniques, a method inspired by ancient Roman horticulture that can dramatically improve transplant success for tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, brassicas, herbs, and many other garden crops. I call it the Roman Slurry Method, and once you understand why it works, you may never transplant the same way again. The ancient Romans were remarkably advanced gardeners and farmers for their time. Writers such as Columella and Pliny the Elder documented sophisticated agricultural practices in works like De Re Rustica. They carefully observed how plants responded to soil conditions, irrigation, root disturbance, seasonal timing, organic amendments. While they didn't understand modern microbiology or soil physics, they clearly recognized that seedlings established better when roots maintained close contact with moist soil during transplanting. One planting practice historians often describe is a form of puddling roots before planting. Instead of placing roots directly into dry soil, growers coated them in a moist clay and organic slurry before transplanting. This helped eliminate air gaps around the roots and improved immediate moisture contact. Modern science now gives us a much clearer understanding of why this works so well. Healthy root systems depend heavily on microscopic root hairs, tiny structures responsible for most water and nutrient absorption. These root hairs are incredibly delicate. During transplanting, they can dry out very quickly, especially in warm, windy, or low humidity conditions. Even a short period of drying can temporarily reduce the plant's ability to take up water efficiently. That's why reducing root exposure and improving soil contact is so important during transplanting. And this is where the Roman slurry becomes incredibly useful. Here's how to make a modern version using materials most gardeners can easily find. You'll need local garden soil, well-finished sifted compost, a small amount of bentonite clay or naturally clay-rich soil, liquid seaweed extract or humic acid, water, and optionally, a mycorrhizal fungi inoculant. Start by combining equal parts local garden soil and mature compost in a bucket. Using local soil is important because it introduces native mineral structure and microbial compatibility with your garden environment. Next, add a small amount of bentonite clay. Now this part matters. You do not need much. Bentonite swells dramatically when wet and helps the slurry cling tightly to the roots while holding moisture around them during the critical establishment period. However, too much can reduce drainage, especially in naturally heavy clay soils. So use it moderately. Then add liquid seaweed extract or humic substances. Seaweed extracts contain naturally occurring plant compounds that may help reduce transplant stress, while humic substances can improve nutrient availability and root zone chemistry. Gradually add water and stir until the mixture reaches the consistency of thick pancake batter, not watery, not muddy soup. You want it thick enough to fully coat the root ball. Finally, if you're using mycorrhizal fungi inoculant, mix it in at the end. Mycorrhizal fungi form symbiotic relationships with plant roots, extending thread-like hyphae into the soil that can improve water and nutrient access. Research suggests inoculants may be especially beneficial in disturbed soils, raised beds, or sterile container systems, where native fungal populations are lower. Now let's transplant. Gently remove the seedling from its container. Before planting, completely dip the root ball into the Roman slurry, coating the roots thoroughly. This coating helps improve immediate soil contact, reduce air pockets, maintain moisture around delicate root hairs, and create a biologically active transition zone around the transplant plant the seedling immediately while the slurry is still fresh and moist. For crops like tomatoes, you can combine this technique with another highly effective strategy: trench planting. Instead of digging one deep vertical hole, dig a shallow horizontal trench. Lay the tomato plant sideways in the trench, burying most of the stem while leaving only the top several leaves exposed above the soil surface. Tomatoes naturally produce adventitious roots along buried stems. This allows the plant to develop a much larger root system, dramatically improving nutrient uptake, drought resistance, and overall vigor later in the season. And yes, this technique really works. In many cases, you can visibly see the difference within a week. Plants transplanted into dry backfill often pause growth while recovering from stress. Leaves may wilt during midday heat, stems can temporarily purple from phosphorus uptake disruption, and overall growth slows dramatically. Meanwhile, plants transplanted with strong root-to-soil contact frequently resume active growth much faster. Now there are a few common mistakes gardeners should avoid. First, don't use unfinished compost. Partially decomposed compost can temporarily tie up nitrogen and may introduce unstable microbial activity around young roots. Second, avoid transplanting into cold soil whenever possible. Warm season crops like tomatoes and peppers establish much faster once soil temperatures consistently reach roughly 60 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. Third, don't overwater after transplanting. This surprises many gardeners. Roots need oxygen as well as moisture. Saturated soil can reduce oxygen availability and slow root establishment. And finally, remember that peppers and eggplants generally should not be buried as deeply as tomatoes. Tomatoes readily form additional roots along buried stems, but peppers are more susceptible to stem rot in overly wet conditions. One helpful seasonal reminder many experienced gardeners remember is the late May transplant window. In many temperate northern climates, around May 20th often coincides with rapidly warming soil temperatures, longer daylight hours, and increasing microbial activity in the soil. These conditions can create an excellent environment for transplant establishment. Of course, exact timing varies by climate, elevation, and growing zone. But remembering that late May biological window can be a very useful seasonal benchmark for many gardeners year after year. And even outside that window, the Roman Slurry Method remains highly effective anytime you transplant seedlings throughout the growing season. So here's your Grow Smarter gardening transplant checklist. 1. Mix equal parts local soil and finished compost. 2. Add a small amount of bentonite clay. 3. Incorporate seaweed extract or humic substances. 4. Add mycorrhizal inoculant if desired. 5. Coat the root ball completely before planting. 6. Use trench planting for tomatoes whenever possible. 7. Avoid overwatering after transplanting. Simple steps, but together they can make a major difference in transplant success. What I love about this method is that it combines ancient observational gardening wisdom with modern soil biology and root science. Sometimes the best gardening techniques aren't entirely new. They're older methods that modern science finally helps explain. If you try the Roman Slurry Method this season, leave a comment with your growing zone and let everyone know how it worked in your garden. And if you enjoy practical, science-backed gardening techniques like this, including companion planting, exotic edible crops, ancient growing methods, smarter soil building, and high-yield garden systems, subscribe to Grow Smarter Gardening. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a productive and successful growing season ahead. Happy gardening!